Oh, I knew he was going to go here. I just didn't realize. Okay, God, thank you so much.
Lieutenant Governor is here.
Having a pleasure.
You're worried about me. I said, I'm worried about you. I'm 75. And you're 63. Oh, wow.
Okay, so
Where are you? You guys want to go?
so then we just heard from our senior state mayor. Yeah, but I know. Your ego is the smallest one we have to deal with.
I was up there and they say I was the best. How are you?
But it's coming to starting to yeah, I just want to turn the
I'm not I think I now have
Senator? Sir. You all right? I think I really And I got a separate communication from Rachel. No. But she took it the right way. Thank you. Communicated throughout the night.
At Staten Island University Hospital's observance. Yeah, did a great job.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be beginning our program in just a few moments.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but they put me on. I just do this stuff to Randy. To get him from home.
You know what? Your charm never fails you. Everybody's good.
But he's not there yet, because normally he would give me the survey when
We're dealing with COVID or together?
No, COVID is very good. How are you?
he's the best.
Even my best friend. Good guy.
I'm not sure how I look in the mirror.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Borough President James Oddo, welcome to Staten Island's annual September 11th Memorial Ceremony. I'm Deputy Borough President Ed Burke. Tonight, on this 20th anniversary, we gather as a community, as a family, at this beautiful Postcards Memorial to remember those who were tragically taken from us on September 11th, 2001. We also join together to honor the first responders who gave their lives serving at Ground Zero in those fateful weeks and months after that terrible day. We will never forget to never forget. Please stand for the processional led by the Staten Island Pipers and the presentation of colors by the United States Coast Guard Sector New York and the United States Army Northeast Medical Readiness Support Group Color Guard Team, followed by the national anthem sung by Arlette Ruxberg.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red light, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
At this time, I would like to ask Bishop John O'Hara to offer this evening's invocation. Bishop.
I share with you this evening the prayer offered by both Pope Benedict and Pope Francis on the occasion of their visits to Ground Zero, Pope Benedict on April 20th, 2008, and Pope Francis on September 25th, 2015. O God of love, compassion, and healing, look upon us, people of many different faiths and traditions, who gather this evening as one to recall the tragic events of September 11th, 2001. We ask you, in your boundless goodness, to give eternal light and peace to all who died on that terrible day, and those who have passed away over the course of these past 20 years due to illness contracted at Ground Zero. We speak of the heroic first responders, our firefighters, police officers, emergency service workers, and Port Authority personnel, along with all the innocent men and women who are victims of this tragedy simply because their work or service brought them to the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001. We ask you, in your compassion, to bring healing to those who, because of their presence there on that day, suffer from injuries and illness. Heal, too, the pain of still grieving families and all who lost loved ones in this tragedy. Give them strength to continue their lives with courage and hope. We are mindful as well of those who suffered death, injury, and loss on the same day at the Pentagon and at Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Our hearts are one with theirs as our prayer embraces their pain and suffering. God of peace, bring your peace to our violent world, peace in the hearts of all men and women, and peace among the nations of the earth. Turn to your way of love those whose minds and hearts are consumed with hatred, prejudice, bigotry. God of understanding, overwhelmed by the magnitude of this tragedy, we seek your light and guidance as we confront such terrible events, such evils in our own time. Grant that those whose lives were spared may live, so that the lives lost may not have been lost in vain. Comfort and console us, strengthen us in hope, and give us the wisdom and courage to work tirelessly for a world and an island where true peace and love reign among all nations in the hearts of every man, woman, and child, each and every single one of us. For this we pray and say, Amen.
Thank you, Bishop. Please be seated. Before continuing with our program, I'd like to welcome, on behalf of Borough President Oddo, some notable guests who've joined us here this evening. Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin, Mayor Bill de Blasio, Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, Attorney General Letitia James, District Attorney Michael McMahon, Senator Andrew Lanza, Senator Diane Savino, Assemblymember Michael Cusick, Assemblymember Mike Riley, Assemblymember Michael Tanusis, City Council Member Joseph Borelli, City Council Member Debbie Rose, Rebecca DeVecchio representing Assemblyman Charles Fall, David Carr representing Councilmember Stephen Matteo, Public Administrator Edwina Martin, Chief Kenneth Corey, Chief of Training, NYPD, Assistant Chief Frank Vega, Patrol Bureau Staten Island Commanding Officer, NYPD, Captain Andrei Smirnov, 123 Precinct, NYPD, Deputy Inspector Timothy Wilson, 122 Precinct, NYPD, Deputy Inspector Bruce P. Separano, 121 Precinct, NYPD, Inspector Tanya Kinsella, 120 Precinct, NYPD, Deputy Chief Mark Egan, FDNY, Chief Kevin Woods, FDNY, Lieutenant Joe LaPointe, FDNY, Luis E. Basso, Division Chief, Bureau of EMS, Division, Staten Island. Joining us from the U.S. Army are Colonel Thomas McMahon, Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Parisi, Command Sergeant Major Julio Alvarez, Major Juan Diaz, Brigadier General Tim Brennan, Command Sergeant Major Erin Nicklaw, Colonel Tony Vaca, Major Paul Norden. Joining us from the U.S. Navy are Commander Quinn Matt, Executive Officer, USS New York, Lieutenant Clay Edinger, Chaplain, USS New York, Commander Master Chief Lee Thomason, USS New York, Culinary Specialist Jack Diaz, Aviation Bosun Mate Louise Sanchez, Seaman Gianna Curcio. Also joining us are Bishop Victor Brown, Mount Sinai United Christian Church, Bishop John O'Hara, Episcopal Vicar for Staten Island, William Amaniera, Richmond University Medical Center, Marguerite Maria Riva, Poet Laureate of Staten Island, and Masayuki Sono, architect of the beautiful Postcards Memorial. Thank you all for being here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to briefly call to your attention the survivor tree. It is that small tree surrounded by American flags on this planting strip adjacent to Postcards. It was planted as a seedling just a few months ago by the Friends of Postcards and Borough Hall staff. The original survivor tree at the World Trade Center Plaza miraculously survived the collapse of the towers on September 11th. The damaged Callery pear tree was nursed back to health and stands at the 9/11 Memorial in Manhattan. Seedlings from this tree have been sent to memorials all around the world. Here is ours, as a symbol of hope and resiliency, It will grow with us in the years ahead. Now it is my privilege to introduce our Borough President, James Oddo.
Good evening, everyone. If you visited a certain floor of the University of Michigan healthcare system, it wouldn't be long before cancer patients told you how grateful they were for Candace Walker. Her mission was not only to protect the fragile immune systems, it was also to care for their fragile emotions. Candace called the chemotherapy center the House of Hope. She was often the first one to console families when their loved ones went through treatment. She showed up with bagels and coffee. She would make patients laugh by telling them stories of her cats drinking her milk or showing them she had accidentally put on one brown sock and one blue sock. One day she saw a patient on the floor of an elevator writhing in pain, and the staff members nearby weren't sure what to do. Candace immediately took charge, rushed to the woman, rushed her into a wheelchair, took her up to the elevator for urgent treatment. The patient later called her my savior. Candace Walker wasn't a doctor or a nurse. She wasn't a social worker either. She was a custodian. Her official job was to keep the cancer center clean. When asked about it, she said, "No, it's not part of my job. It's part of me." I start with this passage from organizational psychologist Adam Grant's book, Think Again, because being with you again tonight on this 20th anniversary of September 11th, greeting you from this podium for my last time in my capacity as Borough President, is in fact what I see as part of my job. But this day, this memorial service, your loved ones who we lost, and all of you are indeed a part of me. 20 years. It's almost unfathomable. To fully understand why I believe the weight of this day remains so heavy for so many, I need to take you back some 80 years. In January 1942, Hitler's plan to annihilate international Jewry was formalized at the Wannsee Conference in Berlin. When the final solution installed as Axis policy, Nazi officials began to press Japan to extend that solution to Japan's Jews. Yet despite the potential damaging impact on its relations with Hitler, the Japanese government resisted these pressures in early 1942 and maintained that resistance through the end of the war. Why? Robert Cialdini, in his book Influence, from which I've just read, tells of how the Japanese military government called upon the Jewish refugee community to send two leaders to a meeting that would importantly influence their future. The chosen representatives were both respected religious leaders, but respected in different ways. One, Rabbi Moses Schatzkis, was renowned as a studious man, one of the most brilliant Talmudic scholars in Europe before the war. The other, Rabbi Shimon Kalish, was older and known for his remarkable ability to understand basic human workings, a social psychologist of sorts. After the two men entered the meeting room, they and their translators stood before the tribunal of powerful members of the Japanese High Command who would determine the community's survival and who wasted little time in asking a pair of fateful questions. Why do our allies, the Nazis, hate you so much, and why should we take your side against them? Rabbi Schatzkis, the scholar comprehending the tangled complexity of the historical and religious and economic issues involved, could offer no response. But Rabbi Kalish's knowledge of human nature had equipped him to deliver what Cialdini writes was the most impressive, persuasive communication that he encountered in over 30 years of studying the process. Because, Rabbi Kalish said calmly, we are Asian like you. We are like you. In recent years, I've read and thought about, and for that matter, lived a lot of us and them. With outrage for profit more common as a business model, conflict, entrepreneurs, and purveyors of division in our politics and on our social media constantly reminding us of our differences, perceived and real, contrived or inherent. The chasm between self and other, us and them, seems ever widening. Cialdini, who is considered the authority on persuasion, talks about we groups, W-E, we. He has extensively analyzed how others attempt to influence or persuade by tapping into the immutable fact of human nature that we seek some common identity and we want to be part of some collective. The social science on the effectiveness of this is stunning and more than a bit alarming, and it underscores the power of the connection between individuals within a we group. With this phenomenon fresh in my mind, it's clearer to me why the tragedy of 9/11 has had the lasting impact on so many and is still so raw even 20 years later. Yes, it is because of the stunning sheer loss of life and the size and scope of the unprecedented heinous act. Yes, it was the surprise nature of the attack and the permanent loss of a certain sense of safety and security we previously took for granted. But I think the anguish of 9/11 remains so profound today because it hit us as individuals across so many of the ways we identify ourselves. It touched on multiple we groups, those various universes of people on Staten Island with whom we most closely associate ourselves. As human beings, as Americans, as New Yorkers, as Staten Islanders, as residents of Westerly or Eltingville, as first responders, as members of Rescue 5 or a particular firehouse, as Monsignor Farrell High School or PS 45 graduates, as West Shore or South Shore Little League families, as St. Clair parishioners or members of a specific house of worship, even as loyal patrons of Lee's Tavern. We are Asian like you. So 2 decades later, each of us remains impacted because the unique aspects of our lives that we held most dear, the parts that defined who we were, that we had built over the courses of our lives, were so irreparably altered. And then there's you, the families, the parents, the spouses, the siblings, the children, and now grandchildren of those taken from us 20 years ago and subsequently from illnesses born from that day. The remaining we group most unfairly impacted of all. 20 years later, the members of this dais are still desperate to carry part of your burden, alleviate some small measure of your pain. We gather and have this service in the hopes that for a fleeting moment, together the music, the photos, the memorial itself will somehow ease the ache. Maybe it's a fool's errand. Maybe no story or words or level of shared emotion can help. But we try because of we. Because in many ways, we are like you. Some of you we knew before that horrific day. Many of you we did not. In these last 20 years, we've come to recognize the names, the faces of your loved ones and of yours as well. We've grown familiar with part of their story. We've seen your families grow and change. We've watched infants become adults, sons follow their dads onto the job. We've even seen some of you, like me, grow gray. We have watched you at this event and others over the last 2 decades. We have hugged and cried, and we sit on this dais knowing we can never fully feel or understand your pain. But we know, unlike St. Thomas, we don't need to see or touch it to know that it exists still. We have created a we group of our own. We who have chosen to spend the most difficult of nights each year here together at Postcards in the hope that through our tears we might help each other. You have done that for me, and I am grateful. Thank you for allowing me and my team to be temporary stewards of this precious night these last 8 years. You have been patient and generous in allowing me to use this time at this podium to help me come to grips with my own emotions of the day. No words can capture the feeling generated inside me when at the conclusion of the processional through Postcards, you have come up to me and my team to say you believe the event has been worthy of your loved one. At this point in my life, Sometimes I think about the folks who voted for me and whether I should thank them or curse at them. I've been known to do both. But it has been my honor to represent you, and you have my sincerest gratitude. Candace Walker said it's not part of my job, but it's part of me. Well, after tonight, that first part will be true for me. But you good and decent people who, in the face of the worst thing imaginable, have endured, showed immense courage and strength while doing it, and have lifted others along the way. You will be in my hearts and forever will be a part of me. May God bless you and sustain you.
Thank you, Borough President Oddo. Please direct your attention to the promenade as we welcome back Arlette Ruxberg, who will sing her original composition, One September Morning.
Hi, everybody. So I wrote this song in the week following September 11th, 2001. And I look back at that time, and I look back at the feelings that I had, of course, of this great sense of loss, of course, of the pain of losing several people that were dear to me. But one of the things that I remember was that fierce sense of patriotism that I felt on that day, that so many of us felt on that day, as we were united in our loss and in our pain. And that unity is really what helped us to get through that time. And as we go through these times today that we're struggling as well, let's remember that unity is what's going to help us get through. So God bless each and every one of you, and God bless America. On a bright September day, and I watched the sunshine slowly slip away, and my world crumbled before my very eyes, and the smoke of 1,000 souls filled the skies. From the cities to the hills and countrysides, I sing this song for you, America. Though your heart was torn in two, America, may your spirit never break, and may your faith never shake. My America. As the days went by, the sun came out again, and the stranger on the street became my friend. Joined together by pain and fear and pride, and a love for this land that could not be denied, and for the families of all the ones who died. I sing this song for you, America. Though your heart was torn in two, your spirit never break, and may your faith never shake. Oh, my America. I sing this song for you, America. stronger than before, and I love you so much more, my America. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this memorial service, this memorial, all of you families, are important to Mayor de Blasio. I know that because for 6 years we sat next to each other, and I know the comments that we were exchanged. I know that because a few years ago, when I went to the mayor for $250,000 for some tender loving care for the memorial, he got it for us. I know that because last year he called me, not as the mayor, but just two guys talking, and said, I know you have a tough decision to make about making it remote or not, this event. And he knew how difficult it was and said, Jimmy, if you're having it, I'm there. If you don't, I'll support you. And I know because 2 nights ago I was alerted to some electrical issues here, some kind of long-standing, and I went to the mayor and said it's going to take several $100,000, but and the mayor said, Jimmy, we're going to leave this memorial in better shape than we found it, and that allocation will be in the September plan in a few weeks. So it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you the 109th mayor of the city of New York, Bill de Blasio.
Everybody, this gathering every year is so moving. And there's reasons why this is special. There are many moments when we think about 9/11, when we think about the people in each and every one of our lives we lost. But something special happens here, different than what I see in other gatherings. One of the reasons is obviously the love and concern that Jimmy Oddo puts into this with his team. And I want to emphasize the love because I hope you can hear it in his voice each year. The love he has for each and every one of you and the honor he's trying to give you, the respect and the effort to somehow ease your pain a little. And his whole team, everything they do is trying in every way just bring something good into this day for you. And this memorial is so beautiful and so moving. And it is poignant, and when you're feeling the weight of your loss, this is a place to be. And when you want to have some hope, this is also a place to be. So you look out at this beautiful harbor and reminds you of the greatness of this place and all of us. This place is great because of you. This place is great because of the people, not the buildings. I was struck during Arlette's song, which I've heard several times, is absolutely beautiful. I was struck that we have to appreciate what each and every one of you have done to show who we are as New Yorkers, as Americans, by the way you've comported yourself through the pain. I, like so many, in my own upbringing, received a sense of what it was to be an American and to believe in our country because my dad served in World War II. He volunteered after Pearl Harbor, served in the Pacific in the U.S. Army. And he came home missing half a leg from a grenade thrown at him on Okinawa. And he was in pain physically and emotionally for the rest of his life. But he felt so honored to have served his nation. And in our household, it was not a question. It was to all of us clear that we had to serve each in our own way. And our faith in our country, it was a given that we, of course, would find our unity. It was not imaginable, even if there were differences at any given time, it was not imaginable that we wouldn't all, as Americans in common, face the world. And I want to thank all of you, because for the last 20 years, what the families who suffered so much have shown is the very best in this city and the very best in this nation. Because you did not turn away from each other, you turned toward each other. And I know it was never easy to put up with the pain, the weight, every single day, what you had to go through just to keep going. But so many of you reached out to others. So many of you helped, whether it's a member of your family or someone else who had lost a loved one, or another member of a family, of a member of service. One after another, I've seen these moments where people were there for each other. And it's very, very powerful. And so many of you continued serving this borough, this city, this nation. And then this morning we heard the beautiful stories of the children, the grandchildren, who are carrying on the traditions of first responders and in our armed forces and public service in so many ways. And all I can say is, even with the pain and the somberness, the challenge that we feel that will never go away, I know everyone you love is watching down, and they're smiling because of what you have done one for another. They're smiling because you lived up to all their hopes and dreams for you. So we mourn, but I want to celebrate you and give thanks for you. So many might have given up, and so few did. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a rare pleasure for a Deputy Borough President to introduce the Lieutenant Governor. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me invite to the podium to say a few words our Lieutenant Governor, Brian Benjamin.
On behalf of Governor Kathy Hochul, I'd like to extend my warmest condolences to the families and friends of those who were lost on 9/11. Staten Island, as you know, paid a big price on 9/11. And just know that the governor and myself are with you in our prayers. And I want to thank Deputy Borough President and Borough President James Oddo and Ed Burke for putting together this memorial. And it's a beautiful memorial, and it is what those who died and those who are here and those who survived should witness. And so thank you for that. I have 2 points, and then I'm going to take my seat. I was 24 years old and a first semester business school student when 9/11 occurred. And I was in Boston at the time, and I was in class, and class was shut down, and we were rushed out, and we didn't really know what was going on. Social media wasn't a thing back in 2001. And when I finally got wind of what was going on and we started seeing things on television, my parents worked down on Barclay Street and Chambers Street, and I found out they were okay. They ended up walking home, as so many others did who were fortunate that day. But a thought that crossed my mind was the fact that I couldn't help but think to myself about the mindset of those who decided to terrorize us that day. And I thought to myself, these individuals didn't give a lot of thought to whether or not there were Democrats or Republicans and the planes or the buildings. They didn't give a lot of thought to whether people were gay or straight. Didn't give much thought to whether you were a Catholic or a Methodist or a Baptist, whether you were black or you were white. Didn't give much thought to whether or not you were a first responder or an innocent bystander. They gave no thought besides the fact that they wanted to hurt America, our way of life, our democracy, our freedoms, and anyone who is on this soil is the target. We were all the targets. And it was an odd thing for me at that point to grasp that, because I grew up in Harlem, Brooklyn, and Queens in primarily black communities, didn't really experience as much of the outside world, and didn't really always feel that I was a part of the broader sort of fabric of who we were as Americans. But at that moment on that day, it became clear to me that whatever happens to someone in Staten Island affects the person in Harlem, affects the person in the Bronx, affects the person in Queens, affects the person in New Jersey. We are all in this together. And one of the things that I hope that we continue to do, this is year 20, in our remembrances, is that we make sure to educate the next generation and the next generation about what happened on 9/11. There are so many heroes, so many firefighters, police officers, regular people who rushed into buildings to try to save lives who ended up perishing that day. People through no fault of their own got to work early and perished that day. Those who actually went to try to find people who were still alive in the rubble got sick and ended up dying. This binds all of us, and it is my hope that as we think about those who died and want to honor their memory and want to make sure that they didn't die in vain, that we take it upon ourselves to make sure that we love on each other. We understand that while we might have certain differences to some people in the outside world, we're all the same. No matter how we view each other, they view us as the same. And we need to make sure that our kids and our children's children and our children's children's children know that we are New Yorkers, we're Americans, and we will be resilient and we will get through anything that comes our way, including COVID, because that's what we do. And so the governor really wanted to be here today, Mr. Borough President. It was actually hard to get her to let me come. But I just wanted to say to all of you, whether you are a family member or a friend of someone who lost someone, or you're just here because you know it's the right thing to do to be here, to honor those who suffered on that day. We have a lot of work to do, and if we don't do it, their lives would have been lost in vain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. I would now like to welcome Staten Island's Poet Laureate, Marguerite Maria Riva, who will read her original poem, September Sunrise for Staten Island, followed by the Mighty String Demons, who will perform the song, Ashakan Farewell.
September sunrise for Staten Island, for you. How many sunsets, how many nights? Who but the grieving knows the road that you've traveled? Honoring them, naming children after them, tattooing initials and numbers to faithful bodies, following in their footsteps, serving others, remembering them with each measure of kindness, leaving a place at the table in your dreams. In the still of an untroubled September day, remembrance grows deeper. They're here, made present in acts, in rituals, in stories, ever present in the lives of those who love them and those who will, grandchildren, nieces, nephews. At first light, as layers of darkness lift, 20 years true to promises, their burnished legacies rise like the sun over the harbor, first orange, then golden, then dazzling like the love that is eternal.
Thank you, Marguerite, for those moving words and poetry. And to the young, talented Mighty String Demons, well, I think you're the Mighty String Angels tonight. Thank you for that beautiful performance. At this time, I would like to ask the family members, friends gathered on the promenade to begin the tribute readings of those we lost on 9/11.
Terrence Andre Aiken, Peggy Jaziski Alario, Jacqueline Deline Aldrich Frederick, Police Officer Christopher Amoroso, PAPD. Your lovely Sophia and Jamie miss you so much. Laura Angeletta, Firefighter Faustino Apostle, Frank Thomas FT Aquilino, Firefighter Louis Arena, Adam P. Arias, Lieutenant Greg Atlas, FDNY, Louis Aversano, John J. Bedagliaca, Jane Ellen Basler, Catherine Bantis, Walter Barron, Assistant Chief Gerard A. Jerry Barbara, FDNY, Paul Vincent Barbaro, Firefighter Arthur T. Barry, Diane Gail Barry, Carlton Bartles, Michael Ernest Beekman, Denise Lenore Benedetto, Firefighter John Patrick Bergen, Firefighter Paul M. Beyer, Firefighter Carl V. Beanie, Susan Bocchino, Mary Catherine Murphy Baffa, Sean E. Bowman, Jr., Alfred J. Braca, Sandra Conady Brace, and my beloved husband, Firefighter Brian Bilcher. Brian, our son, is 20 years old, and not a day goes by in 20 years that your name hasn't been spoken and your love hasn't been felt. Please keep our sweet and kind Nikki safe. Thank you.
As we remember our loved ones, there is sadness mixed with the happiness of our memories, perhaps anger for all those things that should have been and never were. But I wish you all joy in your remembrances of your loved ones and peace in your lives. Kathleen A. Burns, Milton Gilberto Bustillo, firefighter Patrick D. Byrne, Lillian Casares, firefighter Salvatore B. Calabro, Philip V. Calcagno, firefighter Michael Camerata, Vincent A. Cangelosi, Lisa Bella Canava, firefighter Brian Canizaro, Louis Caparici, Mark Carney, Thomas J. Selleck, firefighter John G. Chipura, Stephen Paul Chutnick, Francis Ann Chilente, Susan Clancy Conlin, firefighter Michael J. Clark, Anthony Coladonato, John E. Jack Connolly, firefighter Robert J. Cordisi, Ruben Correa, and my love, my husband, firefighter Greg J. Buck, Engine Company 201.
Francisco Cruz, Kenneth John Cubis, firefighter Thomas P. Cullen III, firefighter Robert Finn Curatolo, Lawrence D. Curia, Beverly L. Curie, Lieutenant Edward A. Dietri, FDNY, firefighter Michael D. Dioria, Michael Jude D'Esposito, Thomas Damaskinos, firefighter Scott Matthew Davidson, firefighter Edward J. Day, Azucena De La Torre, James V. DeBlaze, Jason Christopher DeFazio, Vito J. DeLeo, Michael D. Rienzo, firefighter David P. De Rubio, Edward D. Simone III, Matthew Diaz, and my father, Lieutenant Charles Joseph Margiata, FDNY. I will always love and miss you. You will always live on in our hearts forever, and your legacy will continue on in your granddaughter.
John DeFato, Donald J. DeFranco, Deborah Ann DiMartino, Stephen Patrick Dominio, firefighter George D. Pasquale, Joseph D. Pilato, Neil Matthew Dollard, Joseph Michael Doyle, Felicia Dunn Jones, Captain Martin Joseph Egan, Jr., FDNY, Carol Beth Eckerd, Firefighter Frankie Esposito, Captain Michael A. Exposito, FDNY, Barbara G. Etzold, Battalion Chief Joseph Farley, FDNY, Rose Feliciano, David Ferrugio, Louis Forcini Jr., Firefighter Michael C. Fiore, Stephen J. Forelli, Captain John Rudy Fisher, FDNY, and my son, Carl DeFranco. My dearest Carl, on the 20th anniversary of that horrible day, it still seems like it all happened yesterday. We miss you, and you will never be forgotten. Your nephew, Brandon Carl, just started college, and your niece, Brianna, is in 3rd year. They grow so fast. Watch over me, all my love, my sweet and caring Carl.
Thomas Fisher, Sal Fiamfredo, David Fedor, Lieutenant Michael N. Fedor, FDNY, Police Officer Donald A. Foreman, PAPD, Claudia A. Foster, Lieutenant Peter Louis Frund, FDNY, Clement Fumando, Diana Lynn Galante, Grace Suska Galante, Cesar R. Garcia, Firefighter Gary Guidell, Firefighter James Giberson, Firefighter Jeffrey Giordano, Firefighter John J. Giordano, Martin Giovinazzo, Monica Goldstein, Firefighter James Michael Gray, Lorraine M. Green Lee, Joseph F. Grillo, Battalion Chief Joseph Grislak, FDNY, and my father, Philip David Miller. We love and miss you. I am sad you didn't get to see your 3 beautiful grandchildren grow up. But I know you are in heaven, serving us as our guardian angel, and you will always be in our hearts.
Good evening. We meet again, friends. I'm humbly honored to read the names of your loved ones, as I know all of the family members feel the same way. We feel like we come to know them. Lieutenant Joseph P. Gullickson, FDNY. Barbara M. Habib, Philip Hainsler, Stephen Michael Haggis, Firefighter Sean S. Hanley, Firefighter Thomas P. Hannafin, Vasilios G. Haramis, Francis Harros, Brian Hennessy, Mary Molly Herencia, Firefighter John Hallman, Stephen Howell, Officer Stephen Huxo Jr., PAPD, Joseph A. Ionelli, Deputy Chief Charles L. Casper, FDNY, Firefighter Paul H. Keating, Firefighter Richard J. Kelly, Jr., Firefighter Thomas Kelly, Robert C. Kennedy, Howard Barry Kirchbaum, Stephen Snapper Knapp, Shekhar Kumar, and my beloved cousin, Kenneth Warren Van Auken. Many gave some gave all, never gone from our hearts, never to be forgotten. God bless America. God bless each of them and each of you.
Firefighter Kenneth Campo, Patricia A. Curas, James Patrick Ladley, Firefighter David LaForge, Vincent Anthony Laeta, Firefighter Robert T. Lane, Mary Lou Langley, Michelle B. Chamberlain Lanza, Stephen J. Loria, Janine Laverde, Police Officer James P. Leahy, Firefighter Neil Levy, Firefighter Daniel Libretti, Vincent M. Lito, and my cousin Leonard J. Lenny Rags Regalia. Your whole family loves you, misses you, and please watch over to your only two boys who are following in your footsteps, Lenny and Anthony, and your brother, Stephen. Thank you.
It's an honor to read these names. Lee Charles Ludwig, Marie Lucas, Linda Lazacone, Robert Lynch, Firefighter Joseph Maffeo, Lieutenant Paul Richard Martini, FDNY, Anne Marie Martino Kramer, Firefighter Joseph A. Mascali, FDNY, Michael Massaroli, Robert D. Matson, Walter A. Mazzua, Charles J. Morrow, Charles A. Morrow Jr., Firefighter John Kevin McAvoy, and my brothers, Lieutenant Harvey Harrell, FDNY, Rescue 5, Stephen Harrell, Lieutenant, FDNY, Ladder 10, Engine 10, known as Truck 10. What can be said that hasn't been said in 20 years? This was a horrific thing that happened to us here in New York. We must never drop our guard, always look over your shoulder and pay attention to what's going on around you. My brothers were proud to be members of the Fire Department of New York. They love their job and helping the citizens of New York City. My brothers were my heroes from birth. They will forever be in my heart as my heroes. It will take more than heaven to keep us apart. They were my heroes from now until eternity. Buddy and Stephen, watch over us as you always have. We need you more now than we ever did.
Marissa was a beautiful bride last Saturday, Bud. Your girls are beautiful. They are successful young women. You would be very proud, as we all are.
May God hold you in the palm of his hands until we meet again. God bless America. God bless the brave firefighters, police officers, and the members of the armed forces who watch over us and keep us safe every day.
Scott McGovern, Stephanie Marie McKenna, firefighter Timothy Patrick McSweeney, FDNY, William E. Michioli, Benny Millman, Louis J. Minervino, Lieutenant Paul Thomas Mitchell, FDNY, Richard Maiuccio, Battalion Chief Louis J. Matafieri, FDNY, Firefighter Carl Molinaro, FDNY, Kristen L. Montanaro, Firefighter Christopher Mazzolo, FDNY, Peter James Mulligan, Richard T. Myher, Mario Nardone, Jr., Troy E. Nilsson, Brian Nunez, Captain William S. O'Keefe, FDNY, Philip Paul Agnabene, Firefighter Joseph J. Ogren, FDNY, Linda May Oliva, Eddie Oliver, Firefighter Eric Taub Olson, FDNY, Firefighter Jeffrey James Olson, FDNY, my big brother Captain Billy McGinn, FDNY Squad 18.
Pablo Ortiz, Firefighter Jeffrey Palazzo, Alan N. Palumbo, Firefighter Paul Passini, Salvatore P. Papasso, Sierra Marie Patty, Carl Allen B. Peralta, Lieutenant Glenn C. Perry, FDNY, Danny Pesci, Mark James Petroselli, Lieutenant Philip Petty, FDNY, Nicholas Petronti, Susan Pinto, Joseph Bernard Plumatalo, Wanda I. Prince, Eddie Pullis, Patricia Puma, Lieutenant Michael Quilty, FDNY, Eugene J. Raggio, Laura Marie Raganese Snick, Peter Ramondi, and my grandfather, Firefighter Peter J. Carroll, Squad 1. Even though I never met you, you will always be my hero.
First, I'd like to say it's an honor and a privilege to read your loved ones' names. I'm grateful and honored. Michelle M. Reed, Joseph Reyna, Jr., Karen Renda, Firefighter Anthony Rodriguez, FDNY, Fire Patrolman Keith Roma, FDNY, Lloyd Rosenberg, Firefighter Nicholas P. Rosamundo, FDNY, Firefighter Thomas E. Sabella, FDNY, Joseph F. Sacerdote, Firefighter John August Santori, FDNY, Firefighter John A. Shart, FDNY, Angela Susan Scheinberg, Adriana V. Scabetta, Michael Seaman, Adele Christine Sessa, Thomas Scroy, Robert Shea, Jr., Firefighter Stephen Gerard Siller, FDNY, Paul J. Simon, and my sister, Michelle Marie Henrique. She was 27 years old. She was the person that walked into the room and lit it up. Always had a smile on her face, always had a good thing to say, never a bad moment for her. So 20 years, is it tough? Yes, absolutely. My family, obviously destroyed, devastated. But speaking to my other sister today, she brought up a good point. You know, she always walked into a room with a smile. So today, we could walk into a room or walk amongst our family and look and smile and give them a hug. And just remember, that's why we're here together, because we love each other and we love those that we lost. Thank you.
Marion Simone, Rosemary A. Smith, Joanne Smith Tabik, Sushil Solanki, Thomas Sparaccio, Frank J. Spinelli, Michael F. Stabile, Richard J. Stadelberger, Anthony Starita, Firefighter Jeffrey Stark, Larry Samaya, Harry Tabak, John Taglignani, Morita Tam, Firefighter Alan Tarasowicz, Daryl Taylor, and my brother Alexander Robin Steinman.
Firefighter Stephen Olson. Anthony Tempesta. Firefighter John Patrick Tierney, FDNY. Lisa L. Churatola. Jennifer Lynn Zemia. Azel Vasquez. Francine Zizi Viriglio. Joseph Gerard Viciano. Lieutenant Jeffrey P. Waltz, FDNY. Kenneth W. White. Firefighter Mark P. Whitford, FDNY. Patrick Woods. Captain David T. Woolley, FDNY. Mima Yaskiola. Olabisi Leana Yi. Jacqueline Young. Edwin J. Zambrano, Jr. and Barbara Walsh. We miss them all, 20 years.
At this time, let us pause for a moment of silence for remembrance and reflection. Thank you. I'd like to now invite retired Lieutenant Huey Lynch, FDNY Rescue, to sing My Friends, My Brothers.
I miss you, my friends, gone with no goodbyes or tomorrows. I miss you, my friend, and I hope the days will come again when our lives are filled with fun again, instead of all our lives filled with sorrow. I miss you, my friends, my brothers, and I see your laughing faces like pictures on the wall. I wish I could turn back time and take away the crime and see more. I miss you, my friends. I miss you, my friends. I miss you, my friends. I miss you, my friends, my brothers. Good let's get back to you. And one last time, say goodbye. I see your children's faces, your reflection in their eyes, and I wish I could bring back smiles and take their pain away and see you once more. I miss you, my friend. Gone with no goodbyes or tomorrows. I miss you, my friends, and I hope the days will come again when our lives are filled with fun again, instead of all our lives filled with sorrow. I miss you, my friends, my brothers. I miss you, my friends, my brothers.
Thank you, Huey. That was beautiful. Now we'd like to invite the family and friends of our first responders to begin the tribute readings of those we have lost since 9/11.
Good evening, everybody. It has been and always will be an honor to read these names. Detective Sandra Adrian, NYPD. Chief of Detectives William H. Ali, NYPD. Sergeant Alex W. Baez, NYPD. Jack Bacasio. Philip J. Berger, FDNY. Lieutenant Ronald Biller, FDNY. Police Officer Frank Belluzzi. Anthony M. Bono. Detective Anthony N. Brignano, NYPD. Firefighter Timothy J. Burke. Firefighter Joseph T. Callahan. Brian Campbell. Captain Carmine C. Cantalino, NYPD. Firefighter Carl Capabianco. Francis X. Carozza. Detective Joseph A. Cavatolo, NYPD. Ronald Cohen. John Joseph Conmee, Sr. Thomas Coppola II. John Corbett. Detective Christopher E. Cranston, NYPD. Detective Angel A. Craig, NYPD. Richard Danino. Lou, Big Lou, DeBella. Diane DiGiacomo. Firefighter Robert W. Dillon. Lieutenant Brian J. Ellicott, FDNY. Alfonso Falco. Ted Feezer. EMT Anthony Ficara. Detective Carmen M. Figueroa, NYPD. Supervisor Silvano Nano Flagar, DSNY. Firefighter Frank D. Fontano. Firefighter Robert A. Ford. Firefighter George F. Froelich. Lieutenant Martin Fulham, FDNY. Christopher A. King. Captain John J. Galvin, FDNY. Police Officer Frank L. Gagliano. Firefighter Andrew S. Gargiulo. Detective Michael E. Glazer, NYPD. Police Officer Michael H. Granis, NYPD. Captain Joseph R. Graziano, FDNY. Deputy Chief William J. Guido, FDNY. Police Officer Anthony R. Hanlon. Paramedic Mark A. Harris. Firefighter Raymond W. Harbor. Firefighter Dennis J. Heedles. Lieutenant Robert M. Hess, FDNY. Firefighter James M. Hicks. And my father, Detective William B. Titus Jr., NYPD. Dad, we love and we miss you. It's 20 years since that day, 18 years since you've been gone. As I always say, I know you're headbanging and moshing up there. I'll be doing the same down here. We love and miss you. Rock and roll all night, party every day. Thank you.
Firefighter William Hodgins. Eugene P. Hurricane. Sergeant Michael V. Incontrera, FDNY. Firefighter Anthony R. Irachi, FDNY. Firefighter Sean D. Kennedy, FDNY. Police Officer Kelly C. Korchak. Joseph Landolfi. Sergeant Mark Lawler, NYPD. Detective Anthony L. Lombardo, NYPD. Lieutenant Keith Lachlan, FDNY. Detective Scott G. Lovendall, NYPD. Firefighter Brian Malloy. Firefighter Richard A. Mineta. Firefighter James J. Marshall. Firefighter Jimmy Martinez. Firefighter Brian Masterson. Frederick Meyer. Battalion Chief Robert P. Muccio, FDNY. Andrew Moore. Detective Michael Morales, NYPD. Firefighter William E. Moreau. Frederick C. Mueller. Lieutenant John P. Murray, FDNY. Sergeant Anthony Napolitano, NYPD. Firefighter William R. O'Connor. Captain William Olson, FDNY. Firefighter John F. O'Neill. Firefighter Adolfo Otano. Police Officer Angelo Peluso. Detective Philip T. Perry, NYPD. Sergeant Louis R. Pioli, NYPD. Brian Padell. Police Officer Nancy Puka, NYPD. Lieutenant Gerald Rex, NYPD. Lieutenant Robert Rice, NYPD. Detective Ronald A. Richards, NYPD. Lieutenant John C. Rowland, NYPD. Firefighter Paul F. Santoro. Detective Thomas Sanoto, NYPD. John Schmittow. Sergeant Harold J. Smith, NYPD. Firefighter Roy E. Smith. Firefighter Michael Sophia. Firefighter Lloyd W. Stewart. Firefighter Lawrence J. Sullivan. Firefighter Ronald P. Sveck. Firefighter Richard J. Tanagretta. Sergeant Ned Thompson, NYPD. Captain Victor C. Valva, FDNY. Police Officer William T. Walsh. William Weezer. Firefighter George H. Wilton, Jr., FDNY. Lieutenant James J. Winters, FDNY. Paramedic John J. Wyatt, Jr. Stephen L. Zawada. And my beloved brother, Sergeant Patrick P. Murphy, NYPD Emergency Service Unit. Always loved, forever missed. God bless you all. God bless America.
At this time, we will pause for another moment of silence for remembrance and reflection. Following our reflection, I would ask that you turn your attention to the video screens, where you will see a tribute video honoring those we lost. And now young singers Trevor McGee and Kirsten Blue Kaiser will sing The Prayer.
When stars go out each night, Eterna stella nella mia preghiera. Let this be our prayer. Quanta fede c'è. Give us faith so we'll be saved. Sogniamo un mondo senza più violenza, un mondo di giustizia e di speranza. Ognuno every child, just like every child,
That song means so much to so many people. Thank you, Trevor and Kirsten, for that incredible rendition. Thank you. And now the Staten Island Pipers will perform Amazing Grace. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Borough President Oddo, I want to offer some thank yous. I want to thank the FDNY for the support of this event and for the participation of the fireboat and the ceremonial unit ringing the tribute bell. I would like to thank the NYPD, the New York City EDC, the Friends of Postcards, Michael Black, the Tottenville High School Ceremonial Taps Unit, Staten Island Pipers, the U.S. Coast Guard, the U.S. Army, the U.S. Navy, the American Red Cross, Mount Sinai, Lyft, Empire Outlets, Pro Show, and all of our tribute readers and talented performers for their contributions to this evening's ceremony. I'd especially like to, yes. I'd especially like to extend a heartfelt appreciation to Fred Ariema. This is a local businessman on Staten Island who year after year has beautified the memorial, posted flags for the special occasion, offered flowers. He has really been a standout supporter of this monument, this event, and the people here. And I'd also like to pay tribute to the Borough President for the heart and soul and passion he puts into this event every year, and for the staff at Borough Hall, led by Jen Sammartino, who do the same to organize this event. Thank you, Jennifer, and everybody. And of course, most especially, we thank all of you for being here, for sharing this remembrance with us this evening. Tonight's benediction will be offered by Bishop Victor Brown of Mount Sinai United Christian Church, and will be followed by taps, which will be presented by the Tottenville High School Ceremonial Taps Unit. After the ceremony concludes, the Borough President invites you to come forward and take a rose from a member of our staff, and feel free to place it by a loved one's name and image. So thank you again for being here as a family and a community, and Bishop Brown.
May I ask us to rest upon our feet for the benediction? God bless America, land that we love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, our home, which is presently far from being sweet. God, look down upon America. We are committed to not forgetting the heroism of our first responders who lost their life running toward and not away from danger. We will not forget to pray for and support the families of all those stricken down on that dreaded day. We will not forget those who have lost their life to post 9/11 illness, their respective families. We will not forget the 13 soldiers who lost their life in Iraq last month and their respective families, and all of the soldiers lost or left injured or maimed for life during America's longest war, and their respective families. However, it seems that something major has been forgotten. It seems that we have forgotten about the tremendous outpouring of love and unity that emerged subsequent to the terror attack. That unity sprung from the reality that the terrorist attack was not on white America or black America. The terrorists did not see race, creed, or color that day. They simply wanted to decimate America, land of the free and home of the brave. 20 years later, we have drifted so far from that commitment to unity. Our God, we stand in need of a national purging. Rid us of the polluted partisan politics which seems to have placed the pursuit for power over and against a commitment to patriotism. Rid us of the ignorance which continues to elongate the racial divide. Rid us of the lack of civility that perpetually invades the national, political, and public discourse. Rid us of a commitment toward covert and overt strategies which seek to undermine the institutions of democracy. Ignite within each of us the flame of inspiration to embody only those principles which seek to make us a much better nation even than the one targeted by the terrorists. Give us the courage to denounce terrorism, whether it emanates from without or within our shores. Bring us to that blessed day when lion and lamb will truly be able to lie down together as sisters and brothers. Hasten that day wherein we will study war no more. Speed up that day wherein love will trump hate, civility will be restored to the political and public discourse, and wherein we will truly embrace one another with the common understanding that the only race that really matters is the human race. Grant us traveling mercies as we leave this hallowed spot, but never to depart from your presence is our prayer. Amen.
We're good, bro. We will.